What's good, everyone? Giant Opinions. Playoff baseball's here. Let's go. It's about time. It's my favorite time in all of sports. Playoff baseball just has that magic that no other sport does. So I'm going to be giving you guys my full playoff bracket for the 2022 MLB Postseason, all in order. The first matchup we got is the Tampa Bay Rays playing the Cleveland Guardians. And this series I'm going to give to the Cleveland Guardians. I think they are the way better team, and they have a lot more team spirit and kind of identity than the Tampa Bay Rays, in my opinion. Not to mention all of the games are being played in Cleveland, so they already have the home field advantage, but I think their team is far better. They obviously have Shane Bieber, then they have Tristan McKenzie, one of the rising stars pitching-wise in this league, and then Cal Quantrill, who's having a very quality season for a number 3 starter. So those are 3 brilliant starters that the Guardians have, and their lineup, I mean, Jose Ramirez, I don't think he's underrated anymore, but he's still a top 10 player in baseball. Then you have Josh Naylor and Ahmed Rosario, who's playing some solid baseball. Andres Jimenez, one of the more underrated players this season too, having a great campaign. So this Cleveland Guardians offense definitely can score some runs against the Tampa Bay Rays. They're really good at taking walks. I'm pretty sure they're still the leading team in on-base percentage this season. Steven Kwan. There's just so many stories around this Cleveland Guardians team and the name change. I feel like they're bound to win, and they are the better team than the Rays, in my opinion. The Rays, their pitching depth, starting-wise, it kind of falls off after Shane McClanahan. Corey Kluber's not the same pitcher anymore. They still have a great bullpen, don't get me wrong, but I don't think the bats in their lineup can really get it done with Randy Arozarena, G-Man Choi, Yandy Diaz. It's just not cutting it for me. I don't see that taking them far. I see the Guardians beating the Rays. Next, we have the Seattle Mariners playing the Blue Jays in Toronto. Playoff baseball in Toronto is like no other, so this is a tough environment for the Mariners to play in. The Blue Jays, one of the hottest offenses in baseball, probably the best roster overall, hitting-wise in baseball. But the Mariners have that juice to them back in the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. So they're riding with some momentum. They have identity. They have swagger. But who do I think will win this series? I'm going to give it to the Blue Jays, but I think it will be close. The Mariners, they definitely have a lot of great pieces on this team. Luis Castillo, Logan Gilbert, a stud. George Kirby. The list goes on and on for Seattle. Marco Gonzalez. They have some great pitchers. And then when you go to their lineup, Julio Rodriguez, he's the one that stands out. Ty France, too, having a career season. And then you have guys like Cal Raleigh stepping up in big moments. So this team, and Eugenio Suarez, this team has some great bats, but it's just about them all clicking at the same time. I feel like the Mariners are very streaky offensively. And I feel like that's not really, well, it could be a good thing in the playoffs. It actually really could be a good thing, but you could also think of it from the other way. What if the bats just drop cold? Their pitching may be great, but if they can only score maybe 2 or 3 runs, it's not going to be enough to win. I like the Blue Jays, though. They're playing in Toronto. I mean, like I said, that atmosphere is like no other stadium in baseball. All of Canada is basically behind the Toronto Blue Jays. Inside the dome, the Rogers Center. You got Bo Bichette, who's on a massive tear, or was in September. Vlad Guerrero Jr., obviously. Alejandro Kirk, a great story from the season. Teoscar Hernandez. So it goes on and on, but I like the Blue Jays in this, but the Mariners are going to give them some trouble. I think the Mariners will definitely be in this and fighting till the last breath because of the fact that this is the first time they made the playoffs in, 21 years? It's unbelievable how long it's been. So I think that's definitely going to bode well for the Mariners. They're going to provide a little bit more fight than usual, but I don't think they can score enough runs with their inconsistent offense. So that'll bring the Yankees hosting the Guardians then, since the Guardians are moving on. The Yankees are a team that has had a lot of drama and story this season. They started extremely hot, leading the league by far in most wins, and then they sort of fizzled out after the deadline. They were struggling big time, but their bigger story this season was Aaron Judge hitting 62 home runs, breaking Roger Maris's record, which is unbelievable. Judge will now win MVP because of that, but the team has rallied around that. They've been playing some way better baseball as of late. They got some older guys, though, on that roster. They have a really older team. Anthony Rizzo, Giancarlo Stanton, who deals with a lot of injuries now, Josh Donaldson. On the rotation-wise, they're solid. I don't think they're anything better than that. They're just solid right now. Garrett Cole, is he living up to that contract? I'd say no, just because the ERA is still too high than what he's getting paid. I mean, he's getting the strikeouts, but he hasn't really shown up in a big moment for the Yankees quite yet, which just something that definitely has to happen this postseason if they want to win. And then it kind of falls off from there. I'm not trusting Jameson Taillon in a playoff game at all. I do like Nestor Cortez, but he has had some struggles in this season. Well, he's picked it up back of late. He might start game 1. I don't know. The bullpen is injured as hell. Chapman's off. So the Yankees, they have some great players on this team, but they're a really funky team. And I know I might be really crazy in saying this, but I'm going to pick the Cleveland Guardians to go and beat the New York Yankees in a massive upset. A massive upset. Because the Guardians, they are a younger team. All of the Guardians players have rallied around Terry Francona. They really have. They respond extremely well to him. He's a manager who has been through the playoffs multiple times, back with the Red Sox, now with the Guardians. And the Guardians' offense really is not as bad as people think. They take a lot of walks, and they show up in big moments like Josh Naylor. He really does deliver. Jose Ramirez. They have a pretty good bullpen out in Cleveland too. Emmanuel Clase, James Karinchak. I mean, they got some very quality players out there. People are sleeping on them just because Cleveland is a little bit less of a bigger market than, say, New York obviously is. So I think the Guardians, listen, I don't think they're going to sweep the Yankees by any means. The Yankees will definitely take a game or two, but I have the Guardians beating them out and edging them out in a massive upset, getting some revenge for the 2-0 lead that they blew back in, I think, 2017. So I like the Guardians here to really shock the world, because Aaron Judge cannot carry the Yankees all by himself. The pitching has got to show up for the New York Yankees, and I simply don't think it will, man. I don't. I like Nestor Cortez, but I don't trust Garrett Cole. As crazy as that sounds, I really do not in the playoffs. And I especially don't with Jameson Taillon and Domingo Germán and potentially Severino. I just don't trust them. They have good stuff, but they can't really piece it together all. So I got the Guardians winning a massive upset. I love the underdog story from the Guardians. I think it will. I really think it will take them in this playoff series. And that brings us to the Houston Astros hosting the Toronto Blue Jays in the ALDS. Listen, I've been a massive believer in the Houston Astros, even dating back to before the season started. I have the Astros winning this series. I think they're pretty much the best team in baseball roster-wise. Their rotation, manned by Justin Verlander, who's out of this world. Framber Valdez, a very underrated pitcher. He's getting some more respect in the league now. Luis Garcia is quality. Jose Urquidy is quality. They have a good bullpen out there. They made some moves at the deadline for Mancini and Vasquez. I like Vasquez a lot. And I know Mancini's been struggling a lot lately, but I think he'll really check in come playoff time. And then you can't forget about Jose Altuve. Yordan Alvarez, by far the best pure hitter in baseball right now. Probably even more so than Aaron Judge. That's just a fact. Jeremy Pena, a great story. So, listen, the Astros are a far better team. They have a lot more playoff DNA, in my opinion, than the Toronto Blue Jays up to this point. So I think they're more equipped to handle the moment. They're playing at home in Houston. It's bound to happen. I have the Astros moving on and beating the Toronto Blue Jays, despite how good the Blue Jays offense is. So the American League Championship Series would be the Houston Astros hosting the Cleveland Guardians. And I'd have to give it to the Astros. Listen, the Guardians' magic took them this far. It's already impressive enough. They're ahead of schedule, far so than anyone else would have thought. But this is really Houston's peak window to win the World Series. Yordan Alvarez, Justin Verlander is getting older by the minute, and I know he keeps getting better when he gets older. But at some point, it's not going to happen. They're going to have to pay some players soon, and Kyle Tucker and some of their staff, such as Framber Valdez. I think this is really their time to shine. Obviously, Dusty Baker is still manager. He's been in this league for way too long at this point now. He knows how to really get the guys under control, how to get them to lock in. We'll see if he can win the big moment. We'll see if he can do it, but I know he has gotten teams to the big moment, and I think he will continue to do that for one more year at least. I have the Astros moving on. They're way too talented of a baseball team. I didn't even mention Yuli Gurriel, who is still very solid, and Alex Bregman, a third baseman for the Astros. So the Astros are just loaded with talent. It's really crazy how good that team is, and I have them beating the Guardians. I love the Guardians story. The Guardians have a pretty good team all around, but listen, man, Houston will just blow them out of the water. That's just what I think. So the Astros will then represent the American League. But what about the National League? Let's start it off with the Cardinals hosting the Phillies. The Phillies making the playoffs for the first time since 2011. Good for them. but they've an interim manager while their team has really picked it up back in September after some scares about falling apart and going to miss the playoffs. They did make the playoffs, but I don't think their team has that kind of continuity and stability, or at least stability as in offensive success. Their lineup is either going to score a lot of runs or it's just not going to show up at all. That's the problem. It's very similar to the Seattle Mariners, and I just don't think that's very sustainable for the playoffs, assuming they are on the wrong side of it, because if they're on the right side of it, they could easily go the distance because they got some great pitchers in Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. But the Cardinals are hosting this series, the Wild Card Series. Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, National League MVP, Juan Yepez could be a story in this playoff run. The bullpen, I would like to be a little bit better though, but they have so many great stories. Albert Pujols hitting 700 home runs. And you got Yadier Molina, Adam Wainwright, that duo breaking the record for I think most games started together. It's really unique. Tommy Edman, the outfield too. I mean, the Cardinals are a great, great ball club that I think really could potentially win it all. I still think they should have made a bigger move at the deadline instead of Jose Quintana though, which is a little bit scary. I guess the rotation is really the weak part of the St. Louis Cardinals, but I have them winning in this. I could see a world where the Phillies would beat the Cardinals, but I think in that world the Phillies would just go on a miracle run, and the odds of that are pretty low in my opinion. Now here's the big one, the New York Mets. Mets fans rejoice, you're back in the playoffs. So you'll be playing the San Diego Padres. The Padres, they had a scare of missing the playoffs again, but they clutched it up, and now they're finally in the playoffs again for the first time since the COVID season. So playoff baseball at Citi Field, it's pretty electric. It really is. The Mets, they really collapsed. They should have won the division. They blew it to the Braves somehow, some way, in Met fashion. It sucks, but they're still in the playoffs, so don't let that drag you down, Mets fans. But I gotta be honest, I have the Padres upsetting the New York Mets. The Mets have really kind of lost their wheels as of late. I think it was very demoralizing losing the division lead to the Atlanta Braves in the very last week of the season, and I think it rubs a wrong. I feel like it definitely rubs the wrong way for the players of the Mets. It's like, it's very demoralizing and degrading. Hey, we were up all season up until the last week, and then it just crashed down. So besides that, I love the Padres team. Offensively, Juan Soto, they made that blockbuster move. And then they have Brandon Drury, Manny Machado, Ha-Sung Kim. Unfortunately, no Tatis, but even without Fernando Tatis, they are still a very good team. Trent Grisham, he likes to come alive at some points in the season. And then when it comes to pitching, Joe Musgrove had a very good campaign for most of the season, in my opinion. Darvish, Blake Snell, the ERA may not be there, but he still has some great stuff. He's pitching a lot better, getting the strikeouts. Sean Manaea. So the Padres are a very, very good baseball team, and I feel like they've put all their chips into this season. And I think this is a make or break for the San Diego Padres. Bob Melvin is managing, which I think makes a massive, massive difference. I think he really elevates that team to the next level that they just didn't back in 2020 when I think it was Jace Tingler as manager. So I like the Padres in this because the Mets, they're a great baseball team. They've invested so much money and resources into making this a competitive baseball team, and it finally is now, which is so cool for Mets fans. But I just think the Mets have lost some identity. I think they're a little bit in shambles after choking the division lead. I know they're hosting the series at home, but sometimes the Mets offense will just completely shut down, and they might fall victim to that in this playoff series, despite how well their starting pitching may be. And I don't think Jacob deGrom will even pitch in this wild card series, which is a very interesting move, and I feel like Buck Showalter may be looking past the Padres, which is a big mistake. So I have the Padres beating the Mets. It's controversial. This could be completely wrong. The Mets could win the World Series. I don't know. It's just my opinion. We'll see what happens. The defending World Series champion Atlanta Braves will be hosting the St. Louis Cardinals. This is a massive throwback to, I think it was 2011 or 2012, whenever the infield fly rule game was. But listen, the Braves, they somehow found a way to overtake the division from the Mets. They're riding high, on top of the world right now. They're going to be hosting this playoff series, or the majority of the games will be in Atlanta. The Braves, they've got a good team. I know they're missing Freddie Freeman because Freddie Freeman's playing out of his mind out in LA, but Matt Olson still has had an 100-plus RBI season. Dansby Swanson had a stellar campaign this season, some great progress towards his career. Marcel Harris, rookie sensation, playing great for the Atlanta Braves. He really does seem like a potential five-tool player if he can put on some more muscle. Austin Riley, they locked him up to that massive contract, and deservedly so. He's a very good hitter that can really lock in and be one of the better power threats in this league. And then you go to the rotation. Spencer Strider, where did he come from? That dude is absolutely out of this world. Posting, 200 strikeouts in a season. It's really great. He's a great pitcher. Then you have Charlie Morton also notching 200 strikeouts. Max Fried, who we all know about, the potential main ace in that rotation. And then you also have Kyle Wright. So they have a very good team all around. The bullpen is maybe where it's a little bit lacking, but the Braves have that. They're defending champions. They found a way to overtake the Mets division, 100+ wins. This is a very good Atlanta Braves team. As much as I like the Cardinals rotation, it's not as good. And their hitting, I like the Cardinals hitting too, but with a old Yadier Molina and a very old machine in Albert Pujols, how far can that machine take them before it breaks down? I think it breaks down in the divisional series, sadly. I don't think their pitching is strong enough to carry the lackluster offense besides Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, and then like Tommy Edman and all. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't think it's enough for the Cardinals to overtake the Braves. So I got the Braves beating the Cardinals. Do I even need to say it? The Dodgers will beat the San Diego Padres. The Dodgers always find a way. They're getting a lot more healthy. Finally, Tony Gonsolin will be back. Clayton Kershaw is pitching healthy. And then Julio Urias, the ERA leader. I hate him. He's an asshole of a person, but he is still a very good pitcher in this league. Tyler Anderson, one of the best budget signings this past offseason. The Dodgers worked some magic with him. Andrew Heaney, so their rotation is disgusting, even with Walker Buehler not pitching. And then when you go to their offense, it's headlined by Freddie Freeman, in my opinion. What a pickup in the offseason. The Braves made a big mistake. Listen, Matt Olson's a great first baseman, but Freddie Freeman is showing exactly why the Braves should have kept him. High average, high amount of hits, great RBIs, 100 RBIs I'm pretty sure this season. And then they have Trey Turner, one of the more underrated players in baseball, as a lot of you know. We can't forget about Will Smith, the best catcher in baseball right now. Mookie Betts, Justin Turner. They have a lot of, the Dodgers are mixed with young talent, players in their, right in the middle of their primes, and then some young players. So I think it's a really good mix. The Dodgers have playoff DNA. They just do, and it pisses me off as a Giants fan, but they do. I like the Padres, but the Padres, they don't really have too much playoff DNA or kind of experience or mojo to them. I just think the Dodgers they're probably going to sweep the Padres. As much as I hate to say it, I think they will. The Dodgers always find a way to do this every single year. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Dodgers will host the Atlanta Braves in the National League Championship. Now here's where it gets interesting. The Dodgers will host the Atlanta Braves in the National League Championship Series in a rematch from, I think, 2020 and 2021. So what's going to happen this time? Well, I got the Atlanta Braves. I know it may be crazy to some people, but I love the Braves, man. The Braves have got a ton of momentum. The Braves have some great stories all throughout this season. Listen, the Dodgers, they have so much talent on that team. So much talent, but sometimes that offense is a little bit lackluster. The Dodgers, they find a way to make the playoffs every year, but how far do they really go each year in the playoffs? I feel like they kind of always have that roadblock besides the COVID season. They've always been roadblocked, and they can't really get over the hump. Atlanta has kind of had their number in past years, so I really like the Atlanta Braves in this. As defending champions, I think the Braves will be fighting their hardest to go and continue and win and make it back to the World Series and try and repeat for the first time since the New York Yankees back in, I think, the late 90s or 2000s. And would you look at that, we got a rematch of last year's World Series. I know it's not the most exciting thing possible, but it's just the way how it came out to be for me. The Atlanta Braves versus the Houston Astros. Who will win in this World Series rematch? Will it be the Houston Astros, who will finally win a legit World Series where they have not cheated in? Or will it be the Atlanta Braves repeating for the first time since the New York Yankees? Listen, this is extremely tough to predict. Extremely tough because I love the Houston Astros offense, probably a lot more than the Atlanta Braves offense.
just because of the seasoned veterans and Yordan Alvarez on an absolute tear, Jose Altuve trying to prove the doubters wrong, Alex Bregman, Yuli Gurriel, now Christian Vasquez in the outfield, and Kyle Tucker and Chas McCormick. They got some very quality guys. In the rotation, it's solid, but I think what puts the Braves apart from them is the rotation. Justin Verlander is better than anyone on the Braves rotation. But after him, there is a noticeable drop. After Framber Valdez, there's a noticeable drop-off, in my opinion. After Framber Valdez, I like Jose Urquidy. He's solid, but he's just about solid. And then Luis Garcia, he's a good pitcher, but he's just good. But the Atlanta Braves, I mean, they have got Charlie Morton, old pitcher, but still pitching great baseball. But then they have Spencer Strider, who came out of nowhere, sensational rookie pitcher, Kyle Wright and Max Fried. All of those pitchers have ace-type stuff. The Astros, Jose Urquidy does not have ace-type stuff. Luis Garcia does not have ace-type stuff. That's what puts the Braves over the Houston Astros for me, is the pitching. Pitching wins you championships. It simply does. And the Atlanta Braves, they've got the pitching, and they have the supplemental offense to go make them repeat as the World Series winners of the 2022 MLB Playoffs. This bracket will probably be busted multiple times, but as long as I get the final prediction right, that's kind of what we're going for. Let me know what you think. Feel free to disagree and tell me why. I don't really care. I'd love to hear your opinion, and just tell me why I'm wrong. I'm all ears, and this is just predictions. I'm not taking this super seriously. The main point of playoff baseball is to just go enjoy it. It's so fun, so go watch it on TV. Don't just watch the highlights of it. Actually watch the entire game. So let me know what you think. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.